What's
Hey,
up,
welcome back, guys.
Welcome back
Yeah,
to the Better Vicky podcast.
we are here. We are ready to make a splash in media with the AFC West.
So stupid. Maybe I'll put it at the end of the episode.
Oh, my goodness.
That's so dumb.
So we're here doing the AFC West.
We are. Go back and watch one of the last 3 episodes where we're talking about the AFC North, South, or East.
Yeah, or we're finishing off the AFC now.
Yep.
We got 4 more weeks of this.
Mm-hmm. We're only halfway there.
Only halfway
after
there.
Today.
I'm actually really excited for the North in the NFC. I think that's a very competitive division.
Mm-hmm.
I think it will be next
It's
year.
like a lesser version of the AFC North.
Yeah.
Where the AFC North, like all the teams are like really good. The NFC North, all the teams are just mid.
I think the Lions could be really good this year, but that's not what we're talking about.
Now we're
today.
talking about the AFC West.
We're talking about the future back-to-back Super Bowl champions.
Patrick Mahomes.
That's the guy, yeah. Well, we'll get to him. Let's do him second. Let's start with the Raiders.
You want to open with the Raiders.
Yeah, you're right. Let's start with the Chiefs.
All right, Kansas City. If you don't know how this works, basically we give out a certain amount of points. You'll get it. And if you want to see our rankings for other teams and divisions, check them out.
Yeah, it might be in like the description of the podcast if you're on.
If I feel like typing that much.
If you feel like typing that much on Spotify, and you can probably just see our last episodes. But we're going to start off with the Chiefs, and we start off with quarterback. What do you think about their quarterback, this Patrick Mahomes fellow?
Patrick Mahomes, he's pretty good. My notes, I got notes for every position here, and it just says Patrick Mahomes. It also says 21 out of 20 because I gave him the extra point right there. Enough said.
Enough said. I also gave him a 21 out of 20. He is undoubtedly the best quarterback in the league right now.
Yep.
And it's not even really that close. Like, his floors are lower than some other guys' ceilings, and that's when he loses usually to Joe Burrow or Josh Allen or
the Colts.
The Colts sometimes, I guess. But like his floor isn't that low, but those guys' ceilings just touch his floor, just get a little bit higher than it. And yeah, he's really good. He's a very accurate quarterback. He threw for 5,200 yards last season. And it was kind of not to the best receivers either.
He had Juju as his number 1 last year.
Juju is his number 1 receiver, and MVS as his number 2 receiver. And, I mean, a lot of it came from Travis Kelce. But even without Travis Kelce there, he still would have had almost 4,000 yards.
Right.
And I think he probably still would have broken that 5,000. But yeah, enough said. Everyone knows Patrick Mahomes.
He just elevates everyone around him, makes him better.
Yeah, it's like prime Tom Brady.
There's nothing he can't do on the field.
For real. On the running backs, what do you think?
I give him a 5 out of 8 here. Isaiah Pacheco, he had a good rookie season, especially for a 7th-round pick. He had over 830 yards and averaged nearly 5 yards a carry. And then, behind him there, you also got Jerick McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who are solid backs to complement him, so...
Yeah, I completely agree. I had them in a 5 as well. I like the running backs. They're not bad. They're not that good, but they're solid. I think he's a good pass blocker as well. Kind of more of a fullback, Pacheco.
Yeah,
he's a stout little guy, and I've seen certain times the edge rushers will get around. Stop! What? You saying stout little guy?
No.
What?
I was just thinking about the beginning of the podcast.
It's just some stupidity. Oh my goodness. But yeah, he's a stout fellow. He blocks when he needs to block.
Stout fellow is kind of funny though.
Stout fellow is kind of funny. Yeah, thank you. I'm a comedian. Under running back,
again.
Off of running backs now. Receivers.
To receivers.
Like we said earlier, MVS and Juju.
But Juju's not even there anymore.
Juju's gone.
He's with the Patriots. Tune into last week's episode to hear what we think about Juju on the Patriots. Spoiler alert, I gave the Chiefs wide receiver room the same as the Patriots. Gave them both a 5 out of 12.
I gave him a 6. I was a little bit more generous.
MVS is their top guy right there, and he's a good number 2 receiver to have maybe, but he's not a great number 1. Kadarius Toney, it seems like they're very high on him, but he has yet to consistently show anything. either on the Giants or on the Chiefs last year. Maybe with a full offseason under his belt in Kansas City, he'll get more involved and be more consistent, but I just haven't seen it yet. And after that, which is already a pretty mediocre start, it just falls off a cliff. You got Sky Moore, Justin Watson, Richie James, who they signed from the Giants. They also drafted a receiver, Rashee Rice, in the second round. He did have 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns as a senior at SMU, but I mean, there's not a lot there after Tony, and that's saying a lot.
Yeah, nothing too impressive. Just kind of mid and bad, personally. My thoughts on that.
Would you give? You give him a 6? He said.
I gave him a 6. Yeah.
All right. Well, Mahomes, he doesn't need those shiny receivers, and that's because he's got the best tight end in the league and a future Hall of Famer in Travis Kelce.
Top 5 tight end all time.
He's
probably
insane. I mean, he's had at least 1,000 yards every year since 2016. And the 2 years before that, when he didn't get 1,000 yards, it was over 800.
Yeah.
He has over 10,000 receiving yards already.
Glorified receiver.
He's just a real big receiver.
Really, honestly.
And when in the rare occasion where a different tight end is catching it, Noah Gray and Blake Bell are solid tight ends too. So I gave this position a 9 out of 8. My extra point going there too.
Yeah, the extra point, if you don't know how it works, is just the best position out of the 4 teams in this conference.
Division, excuse
me.
Yeah.
It's just who we think is the best embodiment of that position, which is why we gave Patrick Mahomes a 21 out of 20.
I'm assuming you also gave Kelce a 9.
I did, yeah. 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns, 110 receptions. That's crazy.
He's unstoppable.
The next closest tight end, I believe, was Mark Andrews, and he didn't even he wasn't even close. I can pull up the stats on Mark Andrews.
You could.
But I'm not going to. We don't really need to. He is
a terrible tight end.
He's yeah. Oh, that was not that funny. Oh, my goodness.
We're just comedians today, dude. We're killing it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll throw a laugh track in there.
Their O-line.
There is. It's one of the best offensive lines in the league, I'd say. A very underrated offensive line. You know, all the talk last year when it came to O-line talk was about Philadelphia, and it was much deserved. They had a fantastic offensive line. Dare I say, one of the best offensive lines of all time.
Ever, even.
That is what that means. But Kansas City, don't forget about their offensive line. Very good last year. And it did get slightly worse. They did lose Orlando Brown Jr. He went off and signed with the Bengals, a much-needed signing there for Cincinnati. But they still got some good players. They got Creed Humphrey, good center. They got Joe Tooney. They were both Pro Bowlers a season ago. They also went out and signed Devion Smith and Juwan Taylor. I did originally have them at an 8 out of 10 here, but I upped them, gave them a 9.
I also had them at an 8 out of 10 and then upped them. 9 out of 10. They protect that little guy back there, that little Kermit the Frog back there.
Little stout man.
Little stout. Oh well, no, he's not stout. He's quite a fellow.
Oh,
he's a large man.
I guess when Pacheco's running the ball.
When Pacheco's running the ball,
they block for him.
They protect that stout little man. They do a good job of it. Best quarterback in the league. You got to protect him right.
Yep.
Give him a 9 out of 10.
Both gave their offensive line a 9. To the defensive side of things now, what'd you give their defensive line out of 15?
I gave them a 13, and I gave them a 12, and then I bumped it up to 13. I think they have the best D line out of these 4 teams. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay. I gave them an extra point as well. It was originally an 11. I bumped them up to a 12. Chris Jones, he's the star of just the defense as a whole. One of the big stars on this team. And he got 15.5 sacks last year. They got George Karlaftis, who had 6 sacks as a rookie. He's going into year 2 now, the former first-round pick. They got Derek Nottie in the middle of that defensive line. And they also drafted Felix Ondudike-Uzama at the end of the first round.
What's that?
Him.
His name. It's him, okay.
It is him. We'll see how good he is. And yeah, some just solid defensive line right there. Enough to get that extra point.
Yeah, buddy. Their linebackers, I think their linebackers were pretty good this year. I gave them a 7.5 out of 10. They, shoot, I don't have my stats up. Sorry.
I gave them an 8 out of 10.
Oh.
I thought it was pretty good. Did I steal your thunder? I was trying to fill your silence.
That's okay.
I give him an 8 out of 10, though. They got Willie Gay there. He's going into his third, maybe his fourth season now.
What?
Nick Bolton, who had that scoop and score in the Super Bowl. He's been real good, as is Drew, holy crap. How am I screwing this up? Drew Tranquil. He's a solid linebacker.
Quanked.
Bolton and Tranquil, they both had over 100 tackles last year. And then Tranquil also had 5 sacks and 10 tackles for loss.
Good stuff. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say every single word you said.
Word for word, verbatim.
Verbatim.
Defensive backs. What you got going on in the secondary?
Defensive backs. I have them at I believe a 4. Yeah, out of 7.
Wow.
Or excuse me, a 6 out of 10. I was looking at
4
my
out of 7.
special
What?
teams. Oh, spoiler. 6 out of 10. I didn't do too much research into them, but they were looking fine. Playing against teams like the Bills and the Bengals there. I mean, they can't really keep up with those really good receivers, but they locked down a lot of those lesser than receivers. They had a lot of what was it? The points they scored were a lot more than the points that they didn't score.
That's true.
Scored against them. I need to just stop talking.
I gave their secondary a 6 out of 10 as well. Trent McDuffie's going into season 2. He was a first-round pick, and he was okay as a rookie. L'Jarius Sneed plays opposite him, and he was good last year. Over his first 3 seasons, or over the last 3 seasons now, he has 8 picks and 26 passes deflected. They also have second-year player Brian Cook, who's currently slated to be their starting safety, but they could also just start Mike Edwards there, who they signed from the Bucks. They also have Justin Reed there, who's probably the best player in the secondary, but he's no superstar.
Yeah, I completely forgot about L'Jarius Sneed. 11 passes deflected is quite a lot. I mean, yeah, that's
Still 6.
Still 6.
Special teams.
Special teams. I have them at a 4 out of 7. They were okay. I think Pacheco should probably not be the return guy anymore. Even though he's all right, I think Kadarius Toney did a pretty good job in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
He got it, and maybe that's on the blockers for doing a good job there because they really did. That whole play was kind of good.
Mm-hmm. Great cutback from him. It
was a really good cutback. He had all his guys going to one side, and then the whole defense was on the other side. He cut back and had a bunch of blockers all the way to the 5 or 6 yard line or something like that. And, yeah, it was pretty good. So I think they should put him in. But as it stands, they have Isaiah Pacheco at kick return, and I think he's solid. He got just under 600 yards, didn't get any touchdowns, and he had a long of 48. So solid. I give him a 4 out of 7.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Toney should be more of a return man. I think he can be more of a game changer there, unless they really get him going consistently on offense. They also have punter Tommy Townsend, who was an All-Pro last season. So I ended up giving him a 6 out of 7 for their special teams.
Really? Okay. I mean, I guess if Toney starts playing on that return side,
yeah,
I think I could see it higher for sure.
What'd you give their kicker, Harrison Butker?
I gave Butker a 3 out of 5.
Same.
He's all right.
Right, yeah, he hit 75% of his kicks last season, but he also set a career long of 62 yards and hit the game winner in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, 75% is kind of less than optimal. You want to be hitting more than that, personally. If I was out there, I'd be hitting more than that.
We'll get to a kicker who hit more than 75% here in a little bit.
We will.
But Vegas currently has them at 11.5 wins.
I'm going to take a strong over.
Same. I don't think Mahomes has ever finished a season with less than 12 wins.
Yeah.
I think his worst is 12-4. So I'm hitting that over big time. And then also all my points there added up, 84 out of a potential 105, making them my newest, highest-rated team.
Highest, yeah.
Puts them right over the Bengals by a couple points.
So, yeah, the funny part is I gave a 0.5 or a half point in there.
You would.
So my overall was 83.5.
Oh, wow. That's the closest we've gotten to tying on one of those, to matching.
Yeah, and I don't think we will anytime soon. I'm going to keep using half points.
You would.
I will. That's the only team I think I used half points for.
Oh.
No.
Was you going to start editing mid-podcast?
I'll start giving some half points, yeah.
You would.
They're not my number one above. I have the Bills and Bengals tied right now at an 81. So they're a whole 2.5 points over
Wow.
over that. And so, Yeah. I think a lot of that's from I know a lot of that's from the tight end and from the quarterback there.
Yep.
So if Josh Allen also got his 21, they would be just below tied. So Patrick
Too bad
Mahomes really,
Josh Allen's terrible.
understandably, yeah, it's a bit of a bummer that he's so trash. Onto the Raiders, I believe.
If that's where you want to go.
That is where I want to go.
What do you give their quarterback, presumably Jimmy Garoppolo?
I think he's all right. He's not the cutest quarterback. I think he's a good.
He's hot, though.
Okay, yeah, he is the cutest quarterback. My bad. He's not the best quarterback as a starter. I think he's a good backup and he's a good game manager. He's like just all right. He's just coming off of an injury, and he did not
When
pass.
isn't he?
And he did not pass his physical. So
Yep.
we don't know if he's going to be playing, but if he is, I think a healthy Jimmy Garoppolo is a 12 out of 20.
Mm-hmm. I give him a 13 out of 20. You know, he's good when healthy, but he can never stay on the field. And now it's like, is he even going to take a snap for the Raiders? I mean, they better hope that he does because, I mean, they're already not like the cutest looking team in the world. And then you take away the cute quarterback, and then you're stuck with a 38-year-old Brian Hoyer or rookie from in the 4th round, Aiden O'Connell. So you want Jimmy to stick around.
Yeah, that'd be good if he could pass his physical. Excuse me. On to running backs, I had Josh Jacobs at a 7 out of 8 there. He had the most rushing yards this season. He was very good.
That's true.
That's all I gotta say. I mean, he was really good. 1,600 yards is a whole lot of yards. He got more yards than Devontae Adams got receiving, and this is Devontae Adams' best receiving year.
Tack on the other 400 receiving yards Jacobs had. He was over 2,000.
Yeah, 400 and 400 flat.
Yep. And they also had 12 rushing touchdowns, no receiving touchdowns. I also had him at a 7 out of 8, but that 7 did not stay a 7 for long because best running back in the division, give him that 8 out of 8.
Same here. On to receivers. What do you think about those?
I think Devontae Adams is still one of the best receivers in the league. He's coming off, arguably his best season, 1,500 yards, 14 touchdowns. He's a baller. He's still, I think, a top 3 receiver at least.
He is him, yeah, definitely. I think he's better than Justin Jefferson for sure.
I'd still take him at 1, but I'm also a Packers fan, so I'm still kind of biased for him.
I think he's better overall than Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson just got fed the ball a lot, and I guess Devontae Adams did too. But they also had a really, really good running back. So, yeah.
Jinx. There's also rumors that Hunter Renfrow won't be on the team by the start of the season, but currently he is on the roster, so we're counting him in there. He's coming off of a down season, but I still think he's a good receiver to have. They also have Jacoby Myers, who they signed from the Patriots, who's been a productive receiver for them for the last few years, and Keelan Cole's also there.
Yeah. So I give him a 9 out of 12.
Same.
On the tight ends, what do you think about those?
I like their tight end room. Now, they did lose Darren Waller, traded him away to the Giants, who, when healthy, is one of the better tight ends in the league, one of the best tight ends in the league. But he's been, struggling to stay healthy the last couple of years. That's the Giants' problem now. They went out and signed Austin Hooper, who's a good tight end. Feels like the last couple of teams he's been on, the Browns and the Titans, they felt like he was going to be a star for them, and he was just okay. So hopefully teams kind of understand that now. He's not going to be some superstar tight end, but he'll be productive for you. They also drafted Michael Mayer in the 2nd round, who had 1,600 yards and 16 touchdowns combined in his last 2 years at Notre Dame. They also picked up O.J. Howard from the Texans, who never lived up to the hype of being a first-round pick for the Bucs back in the day, but he's some solid depth to have there at the position.
Amen.
I gave him a 6 out of 8.
I give him a 4. They're losing Darren Waller, and Darren Waller, I think, was pretty good when he was healthy.
Yep.
Highest paid tight end in the league right now, I think, still. So I guess they're kind of just a lot of new faces in that position, or a lot of old faces that are not the best. I don't think it'll be that good this year. I give him a 4.
All right, offensive line. I gave him a 5 out of 10 here. They got Colton with the K Miller, former first-round pick. He's all right. They got Andre James. He's a good center. They got a solid right tackle. But, I mean, there's nothing crazy going on here. Pretty mid.
Facts. I gave him a 6.
All right. Defensively, defensive line. Also out of 15 here. Max Crosby had a fantastic season. He's just a fantastic player. 12.5 sacks last year. Chandler Jones, though, that signing was a little bit underwhelming so far. He only got 4.5 sacks last year. He did have the play of the season for the Raiders, though, when Jacoby Myers, now on the Raiders, formerly on the Patriots, threw the ball right to him to end the game against the Patriots.
Was that the guy who just killed Mac Jones?
That is.
He's a lineman?
Linebacker.
Edge. Came down and just murdered that man.
So at least he has that going for him. We'll see if he bounces back, but I'm not counting on it because he's not getting any younger. And then in the middle of that defensive line, they got Jerry Tillery. He's okay.
Yeah. I think it really does ride on Max Crosby. Without him there, it's there's nothing.
Yep.
So I give him an 11 out of 15 just because if your D-line is just okay and you have someone that's really good on it, like if you're the Rams and you have Aaron Donald.
That opens up opportunities for other players.
That opens up opportunities for other players because they're usually double teaming the one guy. Or your team can, you can get one-on-ones and you blow past your guy and you get sacks. And he did this year. So I gave him 11 out of 15.
I gave him a 9 out of 15. Because, I do feel like it is kind of just Max Crosby. If Chandler Jones does have a bounce-back season, though, that'd go up a few points. All right. Linebackers, I gave them a 4 out of 10. Now, they did take Tyree Wilson in the 7th overall in the draft, and if he's a hit, then, this gets up to a few points. But as of now, I'm not too impressed with what they've got there with their current linebacking core.
Yeah, same. I give them a 5 out of 10. I think their draft pick could work out, but chances are it won't.
Yeah, it's the Raiders.
It's the Raiders, so... Yeah,
felt like a very Raiders pick, betting on the potential of the player. And normally that's how you get like Cleveland Farrell or someone like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's a former 4th overall pick by them in 2019. Didn't work out.
He in the league still?
I don't think so. He might be. If he is, he's not doing much.
Cool.
Secondary. I gave it a 4 out of 10 as well. I'm not a huge fan of the secondary. Nate Hobbs and Duke Shelley are their top 2 corners.
Who is that?
Exactly. They've got Trevon Moorhig and former Eagle Marcus Epps as their starting safeties. Just meh.
Amik Robinson.
Amik Robinson. That's the words that I'm
Another
looking for.
Another corner. 9 passes deflected. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of tackles. Not a lot of anything really besides the passes deflected. 2 interceptions. I mean, just kind of mediocre.
What did you give their secondary?
I give their secondary a 4 out of 10. Twins.
All right, to kicker now.
Special teams, actually.
I thought we were going to, because I put kicker on first, remember, from last episode?
Yeah.
I gave Daniel Carlson originally a 5 out of 5. But he's the best kicker in this division. Give him that Justin Tucker treatment, a 6 out of 5, because he's better than Justin Tucker.
Based. Justin Tucker's bad.
He's so terrible.
Terrible, awful.
Imagine being a kicker and singing opera. Stop it.
Loser. I also gave him a 6.
Yeah, he hit over 90% of his kicks the last 3 seasons, so
that's pretty good.
Pretty freaking good. One of the best kickers in the league. Hopefully his brother will be just as good for the Packers.
He didn't miss a game. He didn't miss a kick. He didn't
for the ones he did.
He didn't miss. They didn't have a backup kicker come out and kick for him.
Okay.
He took all the responsibility on his own scrawny little shoulders, and he did pretty good with it.
Mm-hmm.
Got 97% of his extra points. He missed one of them. Happens to the best of us.
Yep.
Especially since he's the best kicker in the league. So.
Yep. Hall of Famer.
Special teams. What do you think?
Gave him a 3 out of 7.
Hey, twinning.
DeAndre Carter is a solid return guy.
Yep, that's it. What are your overall?
I give him a surprisingly high 70 out of 105.
Wow. I gave him a 68.
Wow. So still pretty high, though, for what I was expecting for the Raiders. They got the talent there. Now, I do think that Josh McDaniels is going to screw it all up because that's what he does as a head coach.
Yeah, McDaniels. How could you?
I'm not expecting a whole lot from the Raiders this season. That's why I'm taking the under on the 7.5.
Ooh, that's a good line, I think.
Yeah,
I will take under though, because they're bad.
they feel like a 4 or 5 win team, something like that.
Dang, that low.
I don't like Josh McDaniels. I think he's a bad coach, and as long as he's there, I don't think they're going to be winning a ton of games.
Speaking of Josh McDaniels,
How are you going to do this?
I don't know. The Chargers.
Oh, yes. I mean, or you just say the Broncos because of the former team he coached.
I was going to, but the Chargers were on top in my list here, so
Okay, let's try that again. Speaking of Josh McDaniels, his former team, the Broncos,
the
is also in this division.
Sorry, the Charger. Let's do the Chargers.
What do you think about Russell Wilson?
I think he's really good. Oh man, I think Russell Wilson was hot steamy crap this year.
That's one way to say it.
Yeah, he was kind of doo-doo. And speaking of doo-doo, he barely got more touchdowns than he has bathrooms in his house.
You keep talking like you're about to lead into like some ad read or something.
Speaking
of
doo-doo,
have you ever tried sponsored by Little Stinkers?
Poopery, try it in one of your 12 bathrooms.
What'd you give Russ?
I gave him a 10.
A 10. Wow. You give Deshaun Watson a 4 in our AFC North episode?
Yeah, I was salty.
I feel like Watson's going to be better than Russ, and that's why I gave Russ an 8 out of 20. I think I gave Watson a 10, maybe an 11. But I don't have a whole lot of hope for Russ. Sean Payton is there, so maybe he can fix him. But, I mean, I don't know. The throws that Russ was missing, that's more than coaching, I feel like. Like, that's wide open guys that he's just not seeing. And so I don't have a whole lot of hope for him. I do have a little bit of hope because otherwise he would have been like a 4 out of 20. But I gave him that 8. Let's see if Russ can have a comeback. If not,
let's not see that actually.
Then,
I'd rather not.
That'd be a real bummer for him.
Loser.
To the backfield. Javonte Williams is, I think, set to be their starting running back. He was good as a rookie, but his season got cut short a year ago. He was only able to play 4 games. We'll have to see how he bounces back. If he doesn't come back healthy or isn't the same running back, though, they do got Shamaje Perine, who they signed, former Cincinnati Bengal, and
whoop, whoop.
I don't think he'd be a bad starter for them. He's averaged up to 4.8 yards per carry when he was with Cincinnati and scored 11 touchdowns in his few years there.
Yeah, I really like Shamaje Perine. He's kind of a power back. He's a short little guy, a stout little fellow.
Mm-hmm. Good beard.
What did I call him? What did I call the short little guy last?
Stout fellow or something.
Stout, something like that. Yeah, he's a powerful little man. And when Joe Nixon was out, he picked up the slack. He actually did really good. Big time picking up slack. And I think he may be the starter by the end of this year. I think he's pretty good, but he's not that good. And he saved my fantasy league actually. He got me like 23 points once, and I won by like a point.
Saved your fantasy league that you had 2 wins in.
That's correct, and I won the Pooper Bowl. So
you did. Congratulations.
Thank you, Shamaje Perine. And for that, I gave him a 5 out of 8.
I also gave them a 5.
I gave him a 5
out of 8.
I didn't give them a 5.
To the receiving room now, and this is where my extra point went. It was between Denver and the Chargers for this extra point for the receivers. Ended up giving it to Denver, though, because they got Jerry Jeudy, who had nearly 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. They got Cortland Sutton, who had over 800 yards and 2 touchdowns. And don't forget about Tim Patrick either. He did miss all of last year with an injury, but last time we saw him in 2021, he was pretty good. He had over 700 yards and 5 touchdowns. So you get all 3 of those guys out there on the field. Heck, throwing KJ Hamler as well. That's a pretty solid receiving core.
Yeah, you'll have all those guys out there wide open, and Russ will miss them. So
yep. Originally, I had him at a 10. Extra point gets him to an 11 out of 12.
I also originally had him at a 10, and they stay there because I gave my extra point to someone else.
Whoa. Wonder who. Tight end. They got Greg Dolch currently as a starter. He was a rookie last year. He had 411 yards and 2 touchdowns. They also have, do you want to try to pronounce the other tight end's name there, John? Albert O?
I don't, but I will give it a shot.
Yeah, let's see what you can do. Nailed it.
Yeah, I did. Akwegababummanum.
Oh, maybe
No, you're
Tom.
pronouncing it.
He's a solid tight end. I gave that tight end a 5 out of 8.
I don't know what I gave him because I'm not on my sheet right now.
Oh, you should.
Yeah, I should.
What are you doing?
I don't know what I'm doing. I gave them a 5 out of 8 as well. I didn't even need to look.
You could have just said whatever I said.
I know, right?
Copy and paste right there.
I know.
Offensive line.
Hot stinky doo-doo.
Gave him a 5 out of 10. It's a very meh offensive line. Garrett Bowles is an okay tackle, but he only played 5 games last year. They did go out and sign Ben Powers from the Ravens and Mike McGlinchey from the 49ers, who are both all right. So hopefully a little bit of improvement there.
Yeah, but I don't think so. I think they're hot stinky garbage, and they sack yards that they lost 415 yards because of sacks, and they let their quarterbacks get sacked 63 times. That's
too much.
That's too many times. I think I'd do better than that out there. I wouldn't, but they're professionals.
But it's
and
nice to think.
So it's nice to think about it, yeah. So I give them a 3 out of 10.
It's nice to think about just Max Crosby just destroying
just
you.
like pounding me, just like slamming
Chris
on my
Jones
back.
just.
I'm just going to be looking straight up from the ground as I see them run over me to like
Miles
slam.
Garrett taking your helmet off and then hitting you in the head with it.
Oh, I'd die.
Yeah.
I'd be dead. There's no chance. But at least I'm not pretending I'm a good professional like these fellows are.
Well, not in the realm of football.
These football players pretend like they can protect their quarterback, but they're liars. They're liars. I give them a 3 out of 10 because that's honestly too high for them. They're trash.
Well, Denver does have a good thing going for them, and that's pretty much like their entire defense.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you give their defensive line?
Give the defensive line. They run a 3-4, so their defensive line, we can get up to 10 points, and then their linebackers go up to 15.
Yep.
So I gave their defensive line a 6 out of 10. It's better than their O-line.
True. I ended up giving them a 7 out of 10. It's a pretty solid defensive line featuring DJ Jones and Zach Allen, who they signed from the Cardinals.
Bars.
All right, linebacking core now out of 15. Originally, I think I had him at a 9, but extra point bumped it up to a 10 out of 15. The Randy Gregory signing from a season ago has been a little bit underwhelming, but he was only healthy for 6 games and only got 2 sacks his first year in Denver, so we'll see if he can stay healthy, and then if he can stay healthy, if he can produce as a pass rusher. They got Baron Browning opposite him, who had 5 sacks last year, and then the inside linebackers, they got Josie Jewell and Alex Singleton representing Montana State right there.
Whoop, whoop.
They both had over 120 tackles.
Yeah, Alex Singleton had 163 tackles.
Yeah.
It's quite a lot. I gave their linebackers a 13, I gave them a 12, and then I gave them that extra point there. Or 11, excuse me, and then I gave them an extra point.
Get him to 12.
So I gave them a 12, yeah. I was lying about the first one, but
that's how it happens.
Not lying about the other one. Yeah, pretty solid group of guys there.
Mm-hmm. And you know what I think is an even better group of guys? Group of guys.
What is that?
Is the secondary.
What?
They got Patrick Surtain, who's become one of the best corners in the league. He's lockdown. He made first-team All-Pro last year.
Bars.
They also got Justin Simmons at safety, one of the best in the league. He tied the league lead, I believe, for interceptions with 6, which is also a career high for him. He also made second-team All-Pro. He's actually made second-team All-Pro 3 of the last 4 years. Opposite him at safety, they also have Kareem Jackson. He's pretty good. You also got Damari Mathis at corner, who was solid as a rookie. He had 7 passes deflected. And you can't forget about Riley Moss, the first white corner in the NFL in just about 20 years.
Yeah, good stuff. Justin Simmons is getting a bit old. He's 29 now.
Ancient
fella. But I do think they're really good. What'd you give him out of 10?
I gave him originally an 8, but then extra point bumped that up to a 9.
Originally, I had him at 7.5, and it upped him to at 8.5.
Wow.
So we're pretty close there. I just think they're a half point less good than you think they are.
You do think that, huh?
For real.
What do you got their special teams at?
I think their special teams is kind of dookie. Or not dookie, but just kind of not great.
Why do you say that?
Because of reasons. Let me get to my reasons real quick. Their return, they had 420 yards altogether with their...
What is it?
With their 4 or 5 guys, and none of them were really that good. what is that? Montreal, Washington had 340 yards.
And apparently a kick attempt as well.
And apparently a kick attempt. It says here it's their kicker, which we'll get to in just a second. And he has all these stats and saying that he kicked the football. And it says he played 17 games. And then Montreal, Washington played 15 games and had 0 field goal attempts, 0 field goals made. And then the rest of them were all zeros. I'm not going to say all that, but
So I don't know why he's there.
maybe it was like a fake out or something, and he ran out and caught the. I don't know.
Faked
It's the
me out on the
Broncos.
stat
Faked
sheet
me,
right
yeah,
there.
faked the Broncos bad.
Faked us out.
Yeah, so I'm in a 3 out of 7. Not that good.
I also got him at 3 out of 7. Riley Dixon, he's back in Denver where he started his career as a punter. And last year for the Rams, he averaged a career high of 48.4 yards per punt, flipping that field. And, they also got Washington there as their return man, who he was solid as a rookie returning kicks last year. Now to the kicker position. I give them a 2 out of 5 because they traded away Brandon McManus to the Jags a few weeks ago. So now currently Elliott Fry is set to be their kicker. He's hit 5 of 6 kicks throughout his career. He didn't play at all last year. I was all in 2020 or 2021. He had a long of 44, and he also has missed 2 of his 7 extra point attempts.
Yeah, some hot garbage. I also gave him a 2 out of 5. Not much to say.
They'll probably bring someone in by the time the season starts, I'd imagine.
As it stands, 2 out of 5.
Yep.
What do you get him overall at?
Total points for the Broncos, a 65 out of 105.
I gave him a 64.5
come
out of
on.
105. Yeah, it's that secondary because
Yeah, if you just were smart,
I think half points are
if you were
good.
as smart as me, you'd put him at a 65.
I think half points are good.
You would say that.
I did say that.
All right, finally, we're going to be wrapping it up with those
What's
Los
the over-under on
Angeles
Vegas?
Chargers. Also, yes, I like that. 8.5.
8.5. I think strong under.
I think under as well. You know who doesn't think
Under.
that?
Vegas.
David.
Wait, 8.5?
Yeah,
David has
he's high on the Broncos.
95% of the time.
For
David
reasons unknown to me.
David is a very based individual, and you can go see that on our podcast. We had 3 episodes with him.
4.
We have 4 episodes with him. My goodness. Wow. 4 best episodes of
My life.
any media. You can go check those out. He's pretty based with most things. We did the draft. That was a good episode.
Mm-hmm.
But
One of our best.
apparently he does not really understand who the Broncos are. So that's a bit upsetting. On
We
to
love
the
you, David.
Chargers. Love you, David. On to the Chargers. What do you think about them Chargers?
I like their quarterback,
Do you?
Mr. Justice Herbert.
Justice.
Puts up some great numbers. He makes some insane throws, but it does almost feel like there's something missing there.
Yeah, the touchdowns. He only had 25 of them.
I was going to say, I don't know. They're just maybe it's just because he plays for the Chargers.
Chargers.
Yeah, I think it's the Chargers effect or something like that. Maybe it's because the last time we saw him play, his team choked a 27-point lead in the playoffs.
Mhm.
I don't know, but there's just something off with Justin Herbert. Despite that, I still gave him a 16 out of 20.
I also gave him a 16. I tied him with Lamar.
What do you think's better between the two of them, though?
Lamar is bad, so Justin Herbert.
Bad enough to be a 16.
Bad enough to be a 16. Justin Herbert did throw for...
Should have give Herbert a 16.5.
I haven't given a 0.5 to a quarterback yet, though, actually. Herbert threw for 4,700 yards, and he threw 25 touchdowns? What? That's weird.
Yeah, it was surprisingly low with the touchdowns, but he was second in passing yards, and yeah, I don't know what was up with the touchdowns.
Austin Eckler did end up running for 13, though.
Maybe that's it.
So maybe that, I guess, but still, I mean, even looking at Mahomes, you can see that he had, what was it? He had 41 touchdowns, and then guys running, they had, like, a combined, they had much more than, or not much more, but a little bit more than what Eckler had for touchdowns, those running backs on the Chiefs. So I don't know. Herbert's not that. I don't know. There's a weird taste in my mouth about Herbert. It's just he's not. It's like everyone's hating on Josh Allen, but like hate on Herbert. Like, stop.
Please.
Herbert's like he's like Josh Allen if Josh Allen didn't run or get touchdowns.
Or threw as many picks.
He threw 3 less picks. He threw 10 picks with 25 touchdowns. Josh Allen threw 3 picks, had 35 touchdowns, and ran for a couple more. So, suck it.
Speaking of Austin Eckler, earlier.
Yeah, keep talking.
I had that transition in my head, and I wanted to still use it.
Speaking of Austin Eckler.
What do you think about him and just the running back room as a whole for these Chargers?
I think Austin Eckler is a good player and someone that I'd like to have on my team if I was out there, but I don't think he's the best running back. I don't think he's that good of a running back. It's good that he's back there because I don't think he'd do great at the receiver spot, but he comes out and he's wide open, so he gets thrown the ball a lot.
Sounds like you hate Austin Eckler.
I like Austin Eckler. He's really good in fantasy. So
Well, prove it. How many points did you give him?
give him a 6 out of 8.
I also give him a 6 out of 8.
Do you hate?
I like Austin Eckler.
I do also like Austin Eckler, but he had 900 rushing yards and he had 700 receiving yards.
Yeah.
So that's kind of goofy a little bit.
Yeah, he's real good like that. He also has scored 38 touchdowns over the last 2 years. He's dangerous in the rushing game. He's dangerous in the receiving game. He can do it all, and he'll probably be on a new team next year.
Yeah.
Because the Chargers don't appreciate him.
Send him to the Bills.
For real.
And then Josh Allen can dump stuff off because he can't throw deep because he's so inaccurate.
Facts. They also got Joshua Kelly and Isaiah Spiller in the backfield, but this is Austin Eckler's show.
For real. Actually, this is our show, but this is...
Austin, come on.
Come on, Austin.
We know you listen.
Yeah.
Next up, we got the wide receivers here. What'd you give them?
I gave him 11 out of 12.
Is that with your extra point?
It is with the extra point. They're not as good as Cincinnati's, but they do have 3 pretty good receivers out there. They have Austin Eckler. They have Mike Williams, Joshua Palmer, and Keenan Allen out there, and that's a pretty good receiving room to have. None of them are like superstars. You put them in your top 10, but they're all pretty solid. They all had over 700.
When Keenan Allen's healthy, you might.
Sure. But he only played 10 games this season.
Yeah.
You can't be a top 10 receiver and not
get
be
hurt.
healthy. You can't be a top 10 receiver and be hurt all the time. So it's just not allowed. It's in the rule book. But they all had over 750 yards with Mike Williams getting close to 900 yards. That's pretty good. And with Austin Eckler receiving another 700, that's pretty good for a receiving room. So I liked him just a bit more than the Broncos, excuse me.
Yeah, and you can't forget they also drafted Quentin Johnston in
Right.
the first round to add on to that. So they got 4 pretty good receivers for Herbert to throw to. So I gave them a 10 out of 12.
Based. What about those tight ends?
Well, it's some more good weapons for Herbert to throw to. Starting off with Gerald Everett. I think he's a pretty good tight end. He had 555 yards and 4 touchdowns last year. They also got Darnold Parham as the number 2 tight end there, who's also pretty solid. I ended up giving them a 6 out of 8.
That's fair. I give him a 5 out of 8. Not much else to say about that.
Tight ends.
I think tight ends, the only time really tight ends shine, and this is mostly true, I think, or for what I've seen for the one season I've watched, when you have good receivers, you don't really have good production with your tight ends, especially when you have a good running back too. You don't have as good of a time with your tight end. Like, they don't get as many yards. They don't get as many passes thrown to them. But, I mean, still, they're pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah, not much to say besides all of that I just said.
That was a lot.
How about that O-line?
Offensive line, I gave him a 7 out of 10.
Me too.
They got Rashawn Slater, who is a fantastic offensive lineman, got voted to the Pro Bowl as a rookie, but then he only was able to play 3 games last year, so hopefully he can come back healthy. They also got former first-round pick Zion Johnson going into his second season after a pretty solid rookie campaign. And they also have Corey Linsley, who's one of the best centers in the league. So between those 3 guys and the rest of the offensive line, which is also solid, gave him that 7.
Same here. And they run a 3-4 defense heading over to the other side of the ball.
Yep.
So starting with that defensive line, I gave them on par with their O-line. I give them a 7 out of 10.
Okay. I was just below that. I gave them a 6 out of 10. They got Morgan Fox, Sebastian Joseph Day, and Austin Johnson as the starters there. It's a solid group. Fox did have 6.5 sacks last year, but they are more of as a 3-4 scheme, more of the run stoppers.
Yeah. Talking about sacks.
Transition.
I just didn't like what I said, and I just couldn't figure out anything
Couldn't
else.
stop. Linebackers out
Going
of
to-
15.
Thank you.
They got Joey Bosa, who, when he's healthy, he's great. That's the issue, though. He's almost never healthy, it feels like. Khalil Mack isn't the superstar that he once was back when he was with the Raiders or his early days with the Bears. They got Kenneth Murray, who's an all-right linebacker. They also signed Eric Kendricks from the Vikings, but he also isn't the player he used once to be. So I gave them a 9 out of 15.
I have a bit more hope in Joey Bosa
And his health.
in his health. Yeah, I give him 11 out of 15. Like we were talking about earlier with the Raiders, you really only need one good
Pass rusher.
pass rusher. Yeah,
But if he's only there for
if he's
5
only
games,
there, yes.
that's the thing. It's
But
like, this isn't just like a one-season thing either. This has been like throughout his whole career.
yeah, that's why he's not as good as his brother. Loser.
Defensive back.
How about that secondary?
I gave him a 6 out of 10.
Me
J.C. Jackson was a big signing a year ago, but he's been hurt and when he's been on the field, he hasn't quite been as advertised. He hasn't been as good as he was with the Patriots. They also have Derwin James, who, when he's healthy, he's an awesome safety. But again, a player that struggles with health. The Chargers just, historically, the Chargers just struggle with keeping their players healthy. They also got Asante Samuel Jr. as a corner.
Junior.
He's pretty good, and Michael Davis deflected 12 passes,
That's pretty good.
at least 12 passes every year for the last 3 seasons now, so
How dig
pretty
it?
solid secondary, but a little bit underwhelming, both with J.C. Jackson's performance on the field and then, the injuries that him and Derwin James have suffered throughout the years.
Totally agree. Because I don't really disagree.
Tell me about their special teams, rookie.
Yeah, their special teams is for sure. It's for sure there. They didn't get as many yards as I would have wanted them to if I was a Chargers fan, but none of those exist, so it's okay. They just got barely over 500 yards on returns. Not that cute, but that's it.
Thank you. My notes were just, I love special teams, so I give them a 3.
I gave him a 4.
Whoa. That's crazy. How about kicker?
I gave him a 3.5.
I gave them a normal 3. You want to bet we're going to be half a point off on our totals again?
I don't want to bet, but I'm pretty sure it might be.
Anyway, they got Dustin Hopkins and Dicker the kicker, who are both solid, which is kind of surprising considering it's the Chargers, and they historically have had issues with kickers. Now they have 2 solid guys. Will they both make the roster, or will they have to stick with one? I don't know, but they're both solid kickers, 3 out of 5.
They're probably going to choose the worst one.
Yeah, that's normally how it would go. All right, what is your total points for the Chargers?
Let's hear yours first.
72.
Okay, 76.5.
Phew.
Phew. Yeah, they are now above some other teams and below some other ones as well.
That's true.
And get my lineup all straight. I have them above the Ravens by a solid 3 points,
Well, that's what happens when you have a better quarterback.
and below the Steelers by 2.
Oh, wow.
I'm riding high on the Steelers apparently.
You really are. I sandwiched right in between those AFC North foes.
Golly. All right, what's that under over?
The over-under is 9.5,
Are you correcting me on my under over statement?
which is a tough line.
9.5. How many wins did they get this season?
They had 10. And I don't feel like they've really gotten any better or worse.
Vegas knows what they're doing.
They've done this a few times.
What a bunch of jerks.
Come on, man. I just want money.
Come on, man. You know what? I've gone under, I believe, on 2 of the teams so far, and I got over on the Chiefs. I'll take the over here, but just ever so slightly.
I'm going to take the under. I'm going to say they win 8 games because that just feels like a Chargers thing to do.
You said 9.5.
Yep.
That's a hard line.
And I think that's our best line for this division.
Yeah, I think the other ones were. I think a bit easier. They weren't completely easy, but Chiefs over 11.5. Yeah. Raiders under 7.5. They're not that good.
Mm-hmm. Same with the Broncos under
Same with
8.5.
the Broncos under 8.5. I mean, they got 4 wins last year. I totally called it. So.
Yep. Well, they got 5. You said 4. So.
Okay. Well, I believe that they had 4 because that's what I called. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Tell us your rankings for these teams or any team you really want.
Don't forget to, if you're on Spotify, to vote down in the polls below.
Yeah.
What you think, which team you think is going to win this division. And if you don't think it's the Chiefs, go to YouTube and explain why.
Please explain why.
And then check yourself into a mental hospital or something.
Yeah, I hope the whole team just gets injured, and then in a way that they can recover from, but you know what I'm saying.
And they'll still win the Super Bowl.
They'll probably still beat the Bills, but
Yep, that's normally how it goes. That's a script.
Well, thank everybody for watching. We will come back with
a vengeance next week.
with a NFC team next week.
NFC North.
NFC North hopping over.
Now we are actually planning to have at least one, potentially 2 guests on that episode.
We'll see.
We keep talking about having other guests, and we haven't, but we should have one. Maybe
see.
2, if their mailman comes on the show.
Yeah. Thank everybody for watching. We'll see you next time. Let us know your thoughts in the comments or give us a review. We'll read all of them.
Yep, do all those things.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Do you ever start the podcast earlier?
I should.
Before the crack.
So they called me in high school.